Welcome to the Elementary IEP Implementation module. In this module, we will discuss many of the components involved when planning for individual students following the eligibility and IEP process. What are some ways a teacher might set up a program to implement the IEP for students in order to improve their outcomes? How do students' unique needs drive the planning process? After completing this module, teachers will have a better understanding of IEP implementation for elementary students by planning for instruction, selecting methodology or evidence-based practices, setting up instructional groups and schedules, designing classroom spaces, setting up a data collection system, collaborating with teachers and related service providers, and training their support staff. This graphic illustrates the decision-making process. Teachers use information gathered from assessment and IEP goals to determine specific points of student need. Next in the process is to select appropriate methodologies or evidence-based practices to address IEP goal deficits. Implementation in this process refers to the degree of fidelity to the evidence-based practice the teacher selected when planning for instruction. Finally, teachers use progress monitoring to determine whether the instruction they provide is adequate for the student to make progress towards his or her IEP goals. As we move through the module, you will meet two outstanding Idaho teachers who will share how each goes about implementing the IEP for individual students in elementary classrooms like yours. One of our featured elementary teachers is Robin Butler, who teaches K-6 students with complex needs in an extended resource setting at Maple Grove Elementary in Boise School District. Stephanie Stoll teaches special education students in a K-6 resource setting at Fairview Elementary and Bonneville School District in eastern Idaho. There is an old saying, often attributed to Benjamin Franklin, that goes something like this: failure to plan means planning to fail. When implementing a student's IEP, where do we begin our planning? Let's start with the thread. The thread of information identifies specific, unique needs, helping us understand the story of each student. The thread starts at referral, continues in evaluation and eligibility documents, and can be found in the IEP. In the planning process, reviewing assessments and IEP goals come before selecting the curricular practices you would use to remediate the issues. Similarly, in the decision-making process depicted in this graphic, assessment and IEP goals are indicated on the upper right. Let's take a look at the documents where you will find the thread of information to begin planning for students. Within the eligibility report, the summary of evidence has three parts: the evaluation team's assessment summary, adverse effect on educational performance, and the need for specially designed instruction. In this training example, let's look at the thread found in Donnie's eligibility report. On Donnie's assessment summary, Section A, in the Cognitive Development section, Donnie's total reading composite, which is made up of word reading, pseudo-word decoding, and reading comprehension, was 72, placing him in the 3rd percentile, very low compared to his same-aged peers. In communication development, Donnie scored within the 1st percentile in the organizing composite, which is made up of the relational vocabulary, how items are similar, and the sentence imitation subtests. In adaptive development, Donnie's general adaptive composite scores from his parent were 72, the third percentile, and teacher, 64, first percentile ratings, indicate that Donnie has more difficulty communicating, performing in school, and taking responsibility when compared to his peers. Donnie's report fully outlines the test results, leading to meeting the criteria for Prong 1, developmental delay. Other assessment information in the report will help the team identify other skill areas to address Donnie's needs. Remember, a student must meet criteria for all 3 prongs to be found eligible for special education services. Next, we will look for evidence of the thread in prongs 2 and 3, adverse effect, and the need for specially designed instruction. For Section B, adverse effect on educational performance, or prong 2, Donnie's delays in cognitive development impact his ability to read grade-level passages that allow him to answer questions, complete grade-level writing tasks, and understand the content that he's learning across all academic areas. Further, C, the need for specially designed instruction, prong 3, Donnie requires instruction in a small group setting with frequent prompts and feedback to help him understand what he's doing well on and what he needs to change. He needs instruction that focuses on learning strategies to decode and read grade-level words. Other information in prongs 2 and 3 will help determine other skill areas besides reading Donnie's team might focus on for goals. The thread of information is present in all 3 parts of the summary of evidence, outlining Donnie's unique learning profile. Now let's take a look at how the thread flows into the IEP. When looking at Donnie's PLAFP, or present levels of academic achievement and functional performance, information from his evaluation report flows into the disability affect statement on the IEP. This part of the IEP goal page concerns the way his disability is preventing him from learning in the skill area of reading. Donnie's developmental disability leads to deficits affecting his reading performance. Donnie's cognitive delay impacts his ability to read and comprehend grade-level materials. He struggles with phonics rules used in decoding regular and made-up words. These reading deficits will affect Donnie's ability to read and access grade-level curricular materials in all of his subjects. Note that this part of the IEP is similar to the adverse effects statement in the eligibility report. To find information or the thread of the way your student's disability is affecting them in a specific skill area, go back to the eligibility report. This screenshot is from Donnie's full eligibility report in the assessment section. The standardized assessment given was the Wyatt 3 or Wechsler Individual Achievement Test, 3rd edition. In looking for the thread of information for your student, you might find similar tables in your student's files. The thread found here will help us pinpoint some areas we need to prioritize for goals. Although this table contains standard scores and percentile scores, it would be difficult to write a precise IEP goal from this assessment data and then be able to measure it often enough to determine if Donnie is making progress. Let's take a look at some informal assessment data that helps us drill down to Donnie's exact needs. The data on this page will inform our baseline for Donnie in the reading skill area. The informal assessment on word families indicate Donnie has difficulty blending sounds together to read words fluently. On this assessment, the teacher noted that Donnie would sound each word out letter by letter and then would guess at the word. He got 2 out of 5 short A words correct, none of the short E words, 1 out of 5 of the short I words, 3 out of 5 of the short O words, and 1 out of 5 of the short U words. His average for the assessment was 7 out of 25 words, or about 28%. 7 out of 25 is his baseline data point for this skill. This is where Donnie is currently performing on the skill today. After reviewing Donnie's data, we can clearly state his current level of performance, or baseline data, and the student need. Donnie needs to be able to read words with short vowel patterns with automaticity, to be able to understand grade level texts and access grade level content across all academic areas. Next goes the baseline data. Given a list of 25 CVC words, Donnie currently blends sounds correctly to read 7 out of 25 whole words accurately. Donnie needs to develop his encoding skills before he can decode words in print. The baseline data for Donnie is the part of the PLAF that tells us his current present level of performance on this skill, and it leads to the annual goal that is tightly connected to the baseline. Given a list of 25 CVC words, Donnie will improve his encoding skills by blending sounds correctly to read 23 out of 25 whole words accurately on 2 out of 3 opportunities. 23 out of 25 is how much of the skill we hope Donnie will accomplish 1 year from now at the next annual review. Donnie's thread is evident in his eligibility report, and the information flows into his PLAF and goal, helping us plan his instruction. To wrap up this chapter, we've met our teachers and we've learned about sources of the thread that will help us in our planning. In Chapter 2, we will discuss selecting evidence-based practices.